Consider again that pale blue dot we've been talking about. Imagine that you take a good long look at it. Imagine you're staring at the dot for any length of time. And then try to convince yourself that God created the whole universe for one of the 10 million or so species of life that inhabit that speck of dust. Now take it a step further. Imagine that everything was made just for a single shade of that species, or gender, or ethnic or religious subdivision. We can recognize here a shortcoming, in some circumstances serious, in our ability to understand the world. Characteristically, we seem compelled to project our own nature onto nature. Man, in his arrogance, thinks himself a great work, worthy of the interposition of a deity. Darwin wrote telegraphically in his notebook, "More humble, and I think truer, to consider him created from animals." Close quote. We're Johnny-come-latelys. We live in the cosmic boondocks. We emerged from microbes and muck. Apes are our cousins. Our thoughts and feelings are not fully under our own control. And on top of all this, we're making a mess of our planet and becoming a danger to ourselves. The trapdoor beneath our feet swings open. We find ourselves in bottomless free fall. If it takes a little myth and ritual to get us through a night that seems endless, who among us cannot sympathize and understand? We long to be here for a purpose, even though, despite much self-deception, none is evident. The significance of our lives and our fragile planet is then determined only by our own wisdom and courage. We are the custodians of life's meaning. We long for a parent to care for us, to forgive us our errors, to save us from our childish mistakes. But knowledge is preferable to ignorance. Better by far to embrace the hard truth than a reassuring fable. Modern science has been a voyage into the unknown, with a lesson in humility waiting at every stop. Our common sense intuitions can be mistaken. Our preferences don't count. We do not live in a privileged reference frame. If we crave some cosmic purpose, then let us find ourselves a worthy goal.
During the week or so that she was extremely self-righteous, I was sitting in the car with her, and I remember her telling me that everything was meaningless, and this was something she had very recently discovered, and the total implications of that were as absolute as they could be. And I remember disagreeing with her because, not necessarily because I actually disagreed with the factualness of that, you know? But, I guess, it's the difference between the absurdists and the nihilists, you know? They both think that meaning is ludicrous, but their interpretation of where you go from there is polar opposite, you know? And, it was pretty clear that in her state of depression, she was not going to, not gonna side with the absurdists. So I told her or she asked me what philosophers went along with a belief in no meaning and who reconciled that in a best way to lead a happy life. And I told her Nietzsche. Would you agree with me on that?
Sure. That would be the textbook answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about nihilism because I've never been a nihilist, but I mean, when you're talking about nihilism, Nietzsche comes up.
Yeah.
And she started, she read some Nietzsche, and then she started reading The Republic because she has that copy.
Okay.
And ever since then, I guess it's only been a month since then, or like a month and 10 days, but conversations that I have with her are more like conversations that you have with me. She's more interested in learning things just about thought and about logic and interesting things in general, and more interested in having those kinds of conversations as opposed to gaining pleasure from contact with other people by creating intimate moments between her and the person. She would appreciate this conversation. She would appreciate everything about you. Whereas before she appreciated you and not the things that you appreciated. It's strange how we both love or loved or whatever, I don't know. I don't know what you would call your current feeling towards her.
I mean, I go with love just fine.
Alright. The same woman with no jealousy. I have physically harmed men she's been with just for being
You're saying you have no jealousy?
Not towards you. But towards every other person she has ever shown any interest in whatsoever. And saying this reminds me of what Abby was saying earlier today. But I do not feel any remorse towards hating those individuals for no good reason.
Are you sure that you didn't have reason?
Well, the reason was jealousy. The reason was irrational.
No. You can't say a reason was an emotion.
Right.
And you can't say that a reason was irrational.
Alright, the reason was
I'm positing that you don't know the reason.
No, here is the reason.
Go ahead.
I did not regard those people as being as valuable as I am.
Correct.
Seeing Colleen regard them as being valuable meant that there was something wrong with my method of evaluating myself or Colleen's method of evaluating other people.
Can you see my face here?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't see yours. I've just been assuming you've been able to see my facial expressions.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're spot on.
And that situation is unresolvable easily. And an easier way to resolve it, rather than working through, am I correct in in appraising myself, and is Colleen correct in appraising these other people, is to just eliminate the other people.
I think that your emotions are valid. Your emotions are. You've probably heard me talk about emotions before.
Yeah.
Your emotions are instant calculations according to all the concepts in your mind. That's basically all they are. They instantly tell you in a very conscious manner how you ought to react or feel to this. Your emotions are entirely the effect of what you value and the concepts which you hold to be true.
So then, there are two reasons why it could be that I do not feel jealous towards you as a fellow Colleen seeker. The first one would be that you are valuable, and that her time spent aimed at you is time well spent. The second would be that an intimate sexual relationship between you and her is extremely unlikely, and therefore you aren't a threat. And I can't tease them apart in my brain.
I got 1 and 2. Can you explain what you were saying about 1 and 2?
Those are possible explanations for why I am not jealous of you.
I think it's both. With 1 being purely rational, and 2 not necessarily, because I think that you see me, let's say generally, of around equal or greater value, just as a person altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why 1 works. Now, if you were to follow through completely, you would, you know what would happen with 2. But, I mean, I find it extremely unlikely. I would have to get to know her a lot more similar to the way that I know you, which is the first step,
Yeah.
being extremely unlikely already.
Yeah.
And I've already, set it into actuality, or set it into concreteness, sort of, that I would not pursue her, since I expect I expect value for value. If I am to value her, she ought to value me, and not just one way. It's not a one-way system.
Right.
Otherwise, it would be admiration, and I don't admire her. Admiration being looking up to somebody's greater character than yourself.
Right.
So, I value her, but will not pursue the value unless I can see her pursuing it in me. Which is why I said specifically, I will probably not talk to you until you talk to me. That's what I meant by that.
That makes sense. What other new things? Oh, another manner in which she's grown. She's good at math now. She's good at it. She's good at math.
Also, during the time you were explaining this, I felt the thought kept appearing that you're setting me up.
Setting you up in what
Not
way?
in an evil manner, but that you were describing her as a much more valuable person to me. And not only saying that, but that she would find like you said, she would find the things that I appreciate, she would too appreciate them. Do you? I'm just trying. When I'm saying that, I'm trying to copy what you're saying, so don't see it as different. But the setup just meaning.
That's definitely true.
Okay, you understand?
Yeah. Why am I doing that? Am I doing that because it has factual basis, or am I doing that to please you? I don't know.
I was going towards factual basis.
I am too.
I mean, really, entirely.
I don't really.
You don't go around telling me things just to please me. Do you?
Not that I'm aware of. It has happened in the past where I have found myself in situations that were detrimental to myself because but that's only with Colleen.
When you're in the presence of me, you would not allow that to happen.
No, you do. Your presence does things to me.
I know.
And at first it was a Mac is viewing me. I should behave how Mac wants me to behave. That's how it was a long time ago, and now it's just. I don't know. It's different from that, and somehow better than that, but very similar to that.
I can't connect this to anything I know about. What I believe that I perceive is that you copy my character into yourself when I'm near you.
Yeah. The only other times because the thing with Abby, I have talked to Abby about 4 times about that, and I have always thought that she is behaving in the worst way possible for a human to behave.
Right.
And I did not say anything about it to her until you were sitting next to me. I think I'm going to smoke another cigarette and then go to bed, Matt.
Okay.
Do you want to join me, or?
Yep.
Excellent.
As I do.
How do you reconcile me being an intelligent person with me smoking cigarettes?
You once said that Ron Paul was a Christian. You would not want to vote for him because of compartmentalization.
Ooh.
I believe this is isomorphic.
You flipped that around on me pretty well there. That was fast and efficient and succinct.
Thank you.
Tell me about the objective theory.
Oh, you still want to know about it?
Yeah.
It's 3:40 now.
This is the last
thing. Are
thing.
we gonna wake up tomorrow?
This is the last thing.
Okay.
I would like to also notify you that there's an open bed in my room.
Okay. A human goes through life, and you start generating concepts. And as these concepts are generated in an increasingly enmeshed web, you get quite a lot of them, and they become high level, and there's all sorts of different interesting connections between them.
Right.
But this thing happens, and we see something as meaningful, or say we make a conceptual discovery. When we make a conceptual discovery, we immediately, in exactly the same way that emotion helps us understand things, we immediately know how meaningful it is. We know how beautiful it is, sort of.
Okay.
And that meaning is how well it connects to all of the other concepts which you currently hold. And if a new concept, or say something valuable, or a person, comes in and integrates most of your concepts, then you find that to be meaningful. That's the basic idea.
I like it. I like it a lot.
That's what meaning is. Also, I think that's a pretty cool definition of love. Love in, a truer, like agape,
Yeah.
Greek. I don't
Yeah.
even know how you say that, but,
Yeah.
people are talking about a wholesome love, full, I call it an integration of your entire self.
Yeah.
And that, Colleen is beautiful, but she doesn't integrate me.
Nope. But then, there is no meta meaning.
The meta meaning, I think, goes straight to the paradox again.
Yeah.
Because you can continue the meta on to infinity. Couldn't you?
Yeah.
And all you're doing, you're not actually... All the meta meaning is... It's sort of the difference between the image on the mirror and the mirror. Like, you can point two mirrors at each other and you'll have an infinite image effect.
Yeah.
But all that's really there is two mirrors. So when you're looking at the meta, you're looking at the image and not seeing the mirror. That's why consciousness gives us so many paradoxes. Because we're looking at the image, not the mirror.